All right. Hello, and welcome to the virtual Sierra Speaker Series, brought to you by Sierra State Parks Foundation and the California State Parks. My name is Denise Tran, and I'm the Events and Communications Manager for the Foundation. The Sierra Speaker Series shares and connects the rich cultural and natural history of the area to the community. Please donate to the Sierra State Parks Foundation today to support the interpretation, restoration, and preservation of the park system in the Lake Tahoe-Donner area. Your tax-deductible donation will be kept locally and applied to priority projects. Please see our Facebook page for a schedule of the upcoming talks and speakers. With me today, I have Tim Corrigan and Annelise Hermsen. Both Annelise and Tim put their soul into the song cycle and worked hard to bring out the spirit of the songs. Now they proudly present Virginia Reed's story. Please take it away, Tim.
Hi, thank you, Sierra Speaker Series, for having us and allowing us to share our performance of the Across the Plains song cycle. Just briefly, just a few words. It's based on, as I mentioned, Virginia Reed's memoir that she wrote sometime in 1870s, I think it was, and I'm not sure how old she was, but she was 13 when she crossed over with the Donners and I was so fascinated by some of the stories that she told and the tremendous struggles that they went through and how they persevered and but also how very much normal they seemed, everyday people, not special, not heroic or anything, but just the characters that came out, personalities, and the courage. And I was inspired to write songs based on her stories, and so it came to be. And then I asked Annelise, who was at the time a student in high school, a theater student, and she was so wonderful in a performance that I saw her that I asked her to be part of this project.
Yeah, and as I've said a million times, I'm so very, very honored to be a part of this project. I didn't know what to expect, and I remember listening to the songs for the first time, and I was so impressed not only with the story, which sounds like it sounds unbelievable, and to find out that it's true is what makes it even more just fascinating. And then on top of that, Tim's incredible composition and lyrics, and you really put this all together. And so thank you for this project, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
Yes, please enjoy.
Welcome to this living room. This is the Virginia Reed Across the Plains song cycle, as mentioned, based on her memoir, Virginia Reed's memoir, that she wrote when she was probably in her 50s, I'm thinking, sometime in the 1880s, I believe it was published. And I based all the songs off of a lot of the stories in the memoir. Of course, she didn't write, the songs are all in verse and they rhyme, and she didn't write in verse and she didn't rhyme, so I took liberties where I wanted to be creative with the song to make it fit into being a song and not just a prose as she wrote. So some of the lines are taken directly from her, like the first song is I was only 12, but I remember it well, and that's, I think, the first line in the memoir. But other lines are mine that that I created in order to fit and make the song. So there's a blending between her language and ideas and my language and ideas, and so we kind of, Virginia and I are bonded in that way. So this first song is I was only 12, but I remember it well, and it is presents an overview of the journey that they took from Courthouse Square in Independence, Missouri, heading out toward through Kansas, through the Platte River Valley. It overviews their meeting up with Lansford Hastings and going and taking the fateful Hastings cutoff. And also it mentions Grandma Keys, who didn't last very long, only about maybe a couple, 2-3 weeks with them before she passed away. So all of this is kind of an introduction to Virginia Reed's memoir. And so Annelise is going to be playing the part of, singing the part of Virginia Reed, and I'm going to be taking some of the other parts as we go along. So let's just get into it.
I was only 12, but I remember it well. Misfortune etched in my mind, of perils and hardships a tale I could tell, of scoundrels and men who were kind. The morning we left Missouri, our life, a cold wind blew in from the west. We loaded our wagons, trusting the Lord, in His infinite mercy we'd rest. Our wagons were drawn by oxen and steer, with provisions for 6 months a journey. Little did we know our fate was foretold, and our sufferings would triple their earnings. My mother was weak, declining in health. My good father, he was a builder. In the darkest of hours, my mother grew brave and fought off what wanted to kill her. The stories we heard from old Grandma Keys of Indians and their dreadful crimes, I listened enraptured, my back to the wall, and feared encountering their kind. But Cause River, Kansas, they ferried us across. I prayed they wouldn't sink us midstream. Watching them close, scarcely drawing a breath, but some things are not what they seem. By late end of May, our dear Grandma Keys gave out what life she was saving. A coffin was hewn from a cottonwood tree. John Denton, he done the engraving. Platte River Valley shone emerald green. Wildflowers I gathered by hand. The waters ran clear, shallow and wide. Our wagons rolled across the land. Mr. Hastings claimed a new route was found, running round the southern Salt Lake. His cutoff would shave near 300 miles, so the cutoff we voted to take. We later found out that Bridger and Vasquez, who shouted their praise for the route, were employed by Hastings, a fact undisclosed, and left us troubled with doubt. Icy wind blew again from the west. We flinched at the slap to our faces. We turned to look back at the trail we'd carved, but the Lord's hand covered our traces. We gotta move on away from this life. We'll cherish in memory at last. The sun's run off, darkness has come, and loneliness is coming on fast.
So that brings us to, there's the line that Virginia mentions about the Platte River Valley. And even though we know the story of the Donner and Reed Murphy Green Party is one of struggle and tragedy and so forth that comes up most often, but it must have been, especially early on over the plains, it must have been a gorgeous land to view, and to the wildflowers that she mentions and the wide open skies. Must have been really a pleasure in some instances to see that. And so I wrote a song, an instrumental that is, I wanted to evoke the slow rhythm rocking of the wagons as they're going across, and the kind of meditative viewing of the landscape. So this is called, on the piano, Platte River Valley. And you will see here, this is Patty Reed's doll, a recreation of it, and she's going to be watching over the proceedings. So the next part of the story, in her memoir, there's a very short paragraph where Virginia mentions the pony, Billy, that her father gave her when she was 7 years old. And Virginia, I guess when they made the journey, she was 12 and then turned 13. But she brought the pony along with her. And she was, it must have been, I added a chorus where about having a companion, which it must have been very important for the immigrants, especially the children, like Virginia, having someone, not only her family members, but somebody like Billy, that she would travel across the plains into these new lands. And so this is her story.
7 years old, I was gifted a treasure so kind, a pony named Billy, a beauty he was. Far across the plains we'd ride. We ranged and explored, Billy and me. A new world spread over the plains. Wildflowers I gathered and gave to my mom. Pretty way to help her ease her pain. Just one friend to pass the time, who listens when you're singing, don't rhyme. Just one friend in lonely times, who just might sing along sometimes. We encountered the Sioux near Fort Laramie. They's enchanted by must-looking glass. Desired my pony, bargaining hard with buffalo robes and ropes made of grass. Beaded moccasins were laid at my feet. They made signs they wanted to trade. My father just smiled and shook his head no. My Billy was a promise he made. Just one friend to pass the time, who listens when you're singing, don't rhyme. Just one friend in lonely times, who just might sing along sometimes. But then came a day with no pony to ride. The poor fellow's heart must have failed. Endless travel he couldn't endure. We left him alongside the trail. I cried for hours until I was ill, my sad heart broken and sore. In the wagon I watched him grow smaller and smaller until I could see him no more.
So as a decision was made on the trail, a fateful one, the famous one, to take the Hastings Cutoff and to diverge from the California Trail where most of the other migrants were heading. And this was because Lansford Hastings, who was the author of a guidebook called Immigrant's Guide to California and Oregon, and also a guide leader himself, he claimed that this cutoff, named after him because I think he wanted the recognition of having his name up on structures and so forth, that this cutoff would, he claimed it would shave 300 miles, and he had he enlisted Jim Bridger, the famous mountain man, Jim Bridger, and a guy named Vasquez, who were cheerleaders for Hastings, saying, yes, take this cutoff. It'll shave all this time, and you'll get through quicker. So James Reed, they took a vote, but James was pretty persuasive, and they decided to take the cutoff. Well, come to find out much later that Lansford Hastings had never actually been on the cutoff, at least all the way through. He had gone from Salt Lake City to Fort Bridger, where the cutoff began, through the Wasatch Mountains, but it was probably by horse, and he probably didn't understand the difficulty of getting over the Wasatch Mountains with a wagon train. So they had an incredible time trying to get over that hill, and then once they got to the Salt Lake flats, the tragedy deepened, and they lost a lot more time and lost a lot more oxen and so forth. But that's for the next song. So the vocals going to be James Reed is begging Mr. Hastings to please help us out, guide us through, and Virginia is going to be in the bridge, and she's going to be ushering warnings about this doesn't look good, but they've been taking this cutoff. So this is called Please Mr. Hastings. Hastings, will you show me the way? We're going to California, there can be no delay. We don't mean no touting, and this ain't a Frampton song. Mr. Hastings, I'm begging you please, get us across the plains before the freeze. We heard about the cutoff yesterday. With August around the bend, we couldn't wait. Hastings men wore southern smiles, said we'd shave 300 miles, but get on the trail now and don't be late.
Oh, mama, this don't feel right. Coyotes used to sing in the twilight. Haven't heard a thing, last 2 or 3 nights.
The Donners, Reeds, and Murphys heading west, McClutch, C.T. Stanton, and the rest. 40 miles and we'd be through. The desert dry but Salt Lake blue. We're hard to leave believing we were blessed. So, please Mr. Hastings, will you show me the way? We're going to California, there can be no delay. We don't mean the touting, and this ain't a Frampton song. Mr. Hastings, I'm taking the knee. Get us across the plains before the freeze. Well, it seemed the hand of death was on the land. 40 miles and turned to 80 through muddy sand. Not a living thing was seen. Thirsty horses getting mean. We hadn't figured dying in the plan.
Oh, no, mama, this don't feel right. Coyotes used to cry in the twilight. Haven't heard a thing, last 4 or 5 nights.
See, Mr. Hastings, we don't know what to say. There ain't no cutoff we can see, just suffering and delay. We don't even pray no more, our foolishness is plain. Mr. Hastings, when you've got the time,
shove this cutoff where the sun don't shine. Where the sun don't shine.
So the Hastings Cutoff took them from Fort Bridger up and over through the Wasatch Mountains, which was quite difficult, as there was no actual trail there for wagons. And so when they finally did get up and over, they made it to the very edge of the Salt Lake Desert. Would have been 20 wells, and that's where the last water was. According to Hastings' instructions, it would take them to get across the 40 miles about 1 day. Well, in fact, it took them a lot longer, and they encountered a lot of difficulty on the way, which the Beyond 20 Wells is going to convey. And incidentally, we're going to have this be sung by Charles Stanton, and he'll come up later in the story, tell you more about him, but he's going to be watching as they go through their trials and tribulations. Beyond 20 wells, when the third night fell, could we survive? No one could tell. Barren wasteland, piercing cold, the oxen are stumbling, they're crazed by thirst, unhitch the wagons to spare them worse. We laid our heads upon a desert floor. Suddenly, in the scream of night, fatigue was vanished and turned to fright. A young steed charged, unforgiven. James Reed drew his gun while holding a child. The beast turned east, its red eyes wild. Darkness swallows up another prayer. A cold morning broke, a three-dog night. We're losing fast our will to fight. James Reed forges ahead for water. Abandon the wagons, they're too hard to bear. Our cattle are gone, we knew not where. Margaret Reed then wraps her shoulders in a shawl. Ooh. 800 miles from California, divided our provisions, what little we had. What we didn't need or couldn't carry, buried in the earth for another day. Onward we roll, the time rolling away, and hope we flutter like a thread in the wind. So this next song, in Virginia Reed's memoir, she tells this story, and she said it's the most difficult part of her memoir to tell. And it is, they are heading across the Nevada Great Basin desert, and as they were going up a hill, John Snyder was a team driver, and he was using his whip and trying to whip the oxen and steers up and over this hill, and he was beating them really badly. And James Reed came up and tried to calm him down, and I guess everybody's tempers were frayed completely. And Snyder responded by throwing the whip down on James Reed and hitting him and bloodying him. Margaret Reed rushed out to try to get between the men fighting. She ended up getting hit with the whip as well. At that point, James Reed, enraged, takes out his knife and stabs Snyder, who was his friend, and he dies. And so they have to, so James Reed is then with Pioneer Justice out in the plains there, the desert rather. They have to decide what to do with him, whether to lynch him or to send him off. And the verdict, according to the council, was that he would go off into the wilderness to either die by starvation or be killed by Indians. And so he leaves, James Reed leaves his family, his wife Margaret, Virginia, Patty, James, and Tommy, to go off. And that was the last they saw him until the Reeds were rescued on the other side of the Sierra Range back in February. So Virginia is going to tell the story of this tale.
Upon a poor stage, a tragedy unfolds. Fort Hall Trail we arrived, Humboldt River in our eyes. The trail too steep, ascending a hill. Oxen struggle with wagon loads, but in John Snyder no mercy showed. Beating his cattle senseless, whipping them sore, my father tried appealing to end the animal's suffering. Oh, how the wagon wheels roll. Oh, how the wagon wheels roll. Hard words flowed from John Snyder's tongue. Then with his whip he leaps below and strikes my father a violent blow. Father reeled blinded, bloodied from the gash. Snyder lifted his whip again. Mother ran between the men. Father cried out, but it was too late. The whip had fallen on his wife. Then father drew his hunting knife. Oh, how the wagon wheels roll. Oh, how the wagon wheels roll. Snyder fell back. Father rushed to his side. Blood gushed from father's wound and mingled with his dying friends. A few moments later, Snyder lay dead. Father asked me to dress his wounds while snow fell on the afternoon. The Donners held council, determined father's fate. Many proposed a lynching. Father stood unflinching. Oh, exile in the wilderness, the company decreed, die of slow starvation or murdered by Indians. Banishment he refused, pleading self-defense, until mother urged him to think upon his children. Food he could find at John Sutter's fort, return for their salvation, keep them from starvation. Oh, how the wagon wheels roll. Oh, how the wagon wheels roll. Without food or arms, to unknown country gone, my father walking all alone, far away from love and hope. After dark we followed Uncle Milt and I, guns, food, ammunition, to ease his condemnation. Crying I begged father to remain by his side. To this he would not listen, unclasping my arms around him. Returning then to camp, my mother in distress, young ones to her clinging, hopelessness was singing. In that hour a woman was born. In that hour a woman was born.
So they make it through the Hastings cutoff, finally going around the Ruby Mountains, and that brings them into in touch with the Humboldt River, and it is a brackish water, but at least it is some water, so they've got some relief there. They follow the Humboldt River quite a ways through the rest of the Great Basin Desert, and then the Humboldt River basically sinks, meaning it ends right into the sand. And Virginia Reed doesn't mention too much about this in her memoir, but I was rather fascinated by this phenomenon. So and also I took from other journals, immigrants, some of their stories of getting across the 40-mile desert, because that's what between them and in the Great Basin and the Humboldt River is the 40-mile desert, which then takes them to the Truckee River, where some more respite. So this is going to be sung by let's give Patty Reed a chance to sing this song. This is Patty Reed's point of view. It's called the Humboldt Sink. I'm gonna tell you just one more time. Hell is closer than you think. You see the river just disappear, my friends. That's the Humboldt Sink. South around the Ruby Mountains, we're worn down to the core. Papa done killed a man back at Gravelly Ford. He's exiled to the wilderness to even the score. 68 days of heartache and pain, we followed the river west. So much lost with every mile gained. We got 40 more miles, no time to rest. You think the devil is done with you? Dip your tin cup and take a drink. The bitter water flows soundlessly and dies in the Humboldt Sink. The Paiutes spoke some English, what little they knew. They joined us all for the night and shared some stew. But morning come, the oxen are gone, and Mr. Graves' shirt too. Now we remember old Grandma Keys and the words she held so true. Turn your back on one of their kind, you get what's coming to you. The snow melt in the spring forms a lake. It's so pretty, it makes you blink. But if you wait till September's end, my friends, all you get is a Humboldt Sink. So once they make it to the Truckee River, which is why that the last note was D major, they finally meet some relief in the clear waters of the Truckee and the grasses for the oxen and so forth. As they start off from the Truckee River, they spend a couple days there, and they start off from there into the Truckee Meadows. Coming to meet them is Charles Stanton. He left at the Nevada and Utah border with McClellan to go across over the mountains and to Sutter's Fort for supplies to bring back to the migrants. So they meet him coming back. He's on a horse and he has some food and some meat and flour and so forth. And I wanted to point out that Charles Stanton was from back east. He was about 35 years old. He started a business in Chicago, and then he decided to come with the immigrants out. So he was with the train. He went to Sutter's Fort and he came back. Charles Stanton had no family whatsoever. He had no ties to any of the other immigrants. But he hiked all the way back to save these people out of the goodness of his heart. And I want us to pause for a moment to remember him, because he didn't make it out of the snows alive. And he sacrificed an incredible act of kindness on his part when he had easily could have taken off at Sutter's Fort and gone about his way. But he came back and he saved them. It was because of Charles Stanton. So from the Truckee Meadows, they make it up to the snows. And this next set of songs, it's a 3-part piece. It's called the Starvation Suite. This is where they hike it up. They're much too late, of course. They get up, I think they're heading up on November 1st. The party, they get up to about 3 miles from the summit, what is now Donner Summit, and they are, and the snow is too much. They have to turn back. And so they are faced wintering in the snows of the Sierra through the winter. So the first song is Virginia Reed is telling the story about being very near Christmas, and that seeing off as a form of rescue a group that called themselves Forlorn Hope. And this included Charles Stanton. There was about 15 of them, probably in December, that left, maybe January, left to try to get back to Sutter to get a rescue party. And Charles Stanton was the one of them that didn't make it. He was too weak, and he ended up dying in the snow. It's called "Come the Night the Dreaded Snow." The second piece in this suite is it's called 36, and it would be intended to be 36 seconds of silence in memory of those that perished on this journey, whether it was up in the snows or elsewhere. So it's silence where we can reflect on how thankful we are and the struggles that we didn't have to go through that they did. The last is called "Are You Men from California or Angels from Heaven?" And it's the first thing that the rescue party encountered when they came upon the survivors, who all they saw were the smoke coming out of the chimneys, because their cabins that they erected were probably 10, 20 feet in the snow, and so the smoke was coming out of the holes in the snow. And somebody emerged, and emaciated woman, and that's the question she asked the rescuers. And it takes the form of, it's an instrumental, it takes the form of the right hand being the rescuers calling out to see if there's any survivors. The left hand. The right hand are the survivors calling out, and they're searching for any signs of life at all. So there's a call and response. So.
Dreaded snow, whirling flakes, their icy glow. 3 miles from summit, we turn back. An Indian stood under the trees, seemed to know that we would freeze. Wrapped himself in blankets and watched all night. And every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake, and every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake. Our cattle killed, preserved in snow. How long we'd eat, we didn't know. Snow was falling, falling without end. Rescue party, forlorn hope. 15 brave climbed the slope, set off to California to save the rest. And every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake, and every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake. Those brave and strong of heart, only 7 made John Sutter's fort. Horrors endure, no pen will ever tell. Winter fierce and Christmas near, for the starving no comfort here. Mother then revived our failing souls. And every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake, and every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake. few dried apples, some tripe so lean, piece of bacon, scattered beans, a feast a mother saved for her own. We watched the cooking carefully. Mother said, children, eat slowly, for this one day you can have all you wish. And every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake. And every Christmas I go back to Donner Lake.
So the Reed family and the rest, some of the survivors, with the rescue parties over a period of weeks, they start coming down the mountain. So Virginia Reed recounts how, as they were coming down in the snows, probably in and around Emigrant Gap. So James Reed has gone on ahead. Of course, he made it to Sutter's Fort, and this whole time from his exile in the desert, he's been trying to organize a rescue party and get financing. And backing and so forth. And he goes places, he went down to LA even to give speeches and so forth. He didn't know whether his wife and family were still alive, but he finally made it, I think in February, I want to say, with the rescue party. And as the Reeds were going down, one of the members of the rescue party called out, said, "Is Mrs. Reed there? Please tell her Mr. Reed is here." And at this point, Virginia writes that her mother dropped to her knees in the snow, and Virginia started running toward him. And she ends this story, this section, by saying, there are no words. And I decided that to give them words. What would they say to one another, Margaret and James Reed, when they reunited after long last, not knowing whether each was alive or dead? So I'm taking on part of James Reed, Annelise is taking on Margaret Reed, and this is called Reunion. Yes, it's you, now I believe it's true. I prayed in my heart, my dream of seeing you. Troubles and tears will pass, and I know our strength will last to build our life in this land so vast. Nightmares will come, I want you by my side. I reach out my hand, take it and be my guide. And when I am old and gray, and feel like I'm losing my way, remind me when I saw you again that day. Yes, it's you, now I believe it's true. I prayed in my heart that I was seeing you. Troubles and tears have passed, and I know our strength will last to give our children a Christmas at home at last. Yes, it's you, I'll always believe it's true. I know in my heart my dream is here with you. So this is the song, I guess I could say this is what started it all. I wrote this, it's called Never Take No Cutoffs, and it's from I originally saw it 15 years or so ago. I was reading the Joan Didion memoir and called Where I'm From, and she quotes Virginia Reed in a letter that she wrote to her cousin Mary back in I guess Missouri, who was probably with her family going to be coming out west, and so there was a small excerpt from the letter that's quite famous, and I saw it even quoted up on the wall in the Immigrant Museum in Elko, Nevada, so I read it. I read those lyrics, and I thought I want to put that to music, and just because I thought it was profound. So I sat down one rainy afternoon and wrote the music for this, and so this is Virginia Reed, an excerpt from the letter. Oh, Mary, I've not wrote you half the trouble we've had. but I've wrote you enough to let you know what trouble is. But thank God we are the only family that did not eat human flesh. We have lost everything, but I don't care for that. We have got through with our lives. Don't let this letter dishearten anyone. Remember, never take no cutoffs and hurry along as fast as you can. Never take no cutoffs and hurry along as fast as you can. Never take no cutoffs and hurry along as fast as you can. So this is the last song in the song cycle. It's called "That Was All So Long Ago." This is how Virginia Reed ends her memoir, with this particular story of her family. She and her family taking a picnic from San Jose into the Napa Valley, which is right behind us. So it's special for me here in Santa Rosa. So she talks about leaving her family, wandering off by herself, and reflecting on her good fortune, which God guiding them through safely as a whole family. And she looks up at the birds and the flowers and so forth. It's a very beautiful pastoral scene. The memoir ends by Virginia Reed hearing her father call, and so she runs back to him. I add on a little bit more because it's my own creation here that I'm sharing with Virginia Reed, that I have her father asks her to, we're ready and come sing a song for us. The song that she would sing, of course, would be I Was Only 12, That I Remember It Well. And that would be telling the story again of their journey. And it would cycle back around in the same way that this is a song cycle. And so this it's cycling back to the past and coming forward again. I ended with a refrain, kind of a prayer that I offer to the spirit of Virginia Reed, who helped me so much through this. I say the prayer is, the friends we love and the friends we lost, remembering us home. And this is the refrain that ends the work. And this was the song that a few years ago, I didn't even know Annelise that well, but friends with their family, and they were invited us to come see her in Maria Carrillo High School music production of the musical Music Man. And she played Marian the librarian. And she was so wonderful and had such a beautiful voice and presence that I had the epiphany sitting there in the dark theater thinking, I wanted to sing this song. And I wasn't sure if I was be able to do it. But here we are, and I'm very grateful. So it's called That Was All So Long Ago.
Was all so long ago, but spring arrived at last. Once under snow at Donner Lake, hard times now have passed, but Sacramento Valley, as wide as all the world, would give us us life a home at last, and memories for a girl. Napa Valley afternoon, in shade we stopped to rest. A lovely little knoll I found and wandered by myself. Wild flowers I gazed upon, and oh so many trees. And in the branches high above, the birds would sing for me. A blessed sign, a smile, a benediction pure. How could we come this far without his guiding hand? I felt so near to God that day, his breath upon my cheek. My kisses flew to heaven's light, all in thanksgiving. I heard Papa calling me, daughter, where have you gone? Come, child, we're ready now. Sing for us a song. The friends we loved and the friends we lost, remembering us home. The friends we loved and the friends we lost, remembering us home. The friends we loved and the friends we lost, remembering us home. The friends we loved and the friends we lost, remembering us home.
Wow, that was fantastic. You both are so talented. Thank you so much, Tim and Annelise, for this rendition. It just proves that there's so much to learn. Stay involved with us to learn more. This concludes our Sierra Speaker Series with Tim Corrigan and Annelise Hermsen. This interpretive presentation has been brought to you by Sierra State Parks Foundation and California State Parks. Please donate to Sierra State Parks Foundation to support interpretation, restoration, and preservation of our park system in Lake Tahoe, Donner area. Your tax-deductible donation will be kept locally and applied to priority projects. Please see our Facebook page for a schedule of our upcoming talks and speakers. Thank you so much, and we'll see you online next time. For additional questions to be answered, feel free to email info@sierrastateparks.org or to tim@tscorrigan@gmail.com. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Opening. Bye-bye.